is to dispose or remediate that site in the most cost-effective way possible. So with the DEC will do what they will do. When and if they act, doesn't really have an impact on us. You know, there are people that I run into on a weekly basis that I ask, and there may or may not be, you know, people who are in the business of dealing with stuff like this, material like this. There are ongoing discussions with a few people. I don't really want to go into that because there are negotiations then ongoing. But I think the point is, the village board is doing what they can to remediate that site. The DEC at some point in time will do what they need to do. I don't want to convey the impression, though, that we're sitting back on our heels and waiting for the DEC, because that would not be appropriate, and that's not what we're doing.
And just to add about the Chamber of Commerce came in last week offering very helpful suggestions on that, the pile and the land there. So it's not only us trying to do whatever we can, it's also village residents and the Chamber of Commerce coming forward and trying to help it. So it's a community effort, and I want to publicly thank the Chamber of Commerce for coming out with some help in this area.
And we should just add that, you know, our consultant is here, Art's here. One of the things that was discussed is how we could move forward in marketing that property, and perhaps ways that we could make it more, you know, the typical term shovel ready, and in ways that we could try to move it forward on our own to make it more saleable. And there were some excellent suggestions from the chamber.
Last question I had concerns the fire. Talk on the street is that there was a significant loss of pressure up there from the hydrants, and that water went down a couple of times in the midst of the fire. What's the status of those hydrants and the pressure there, and is it connected to the problem you heard about recently concerning Murray Avenue?
No, and the word on the street is wrong. The fire department, when they come into a fire, first thing, before they even hook up, they're hooking up to the tankers that we have. So as far as that, and now they have 5-inch pumps, 5-inch hose, that they know where to go where the 5-inch hose, they can get the most pressure from the 5-inch hose. So the word on the street is basically wrong. They know right where not to go and where to go with the 5-inch hose, because the 5-inch hose requires a lot more pressure. So they know what pumps to go to. If you want to get the most water on it, you want to get a 5-inch hose. So there was no problem with the fire department. They made a magnificent job, and they know right where to go. But there was no problem with the pressure.
No, my question wasn't with regard to the department, but with regard to our water supply.
No, the fire was put out in the most efficient way possible.
Are those hydrants adjacent to the school there capable of supplying water that might be necessary in the case of an emergency at the school?
Well, the only thing I can answer you is there was a fire and they put it out. So apparently there must have been enough water. I've never seen a fire, and I was a fireman in this village for 33 years. I've never seen a fire that we weren't able to put out.
Just so that it's clear to anybody watching, that wasn't the intent of my question. I'm not questioning the fire department. My question again is with regard to our infrastructure.
Okay, the fire department gets the water from our infrastructure. So in 33 years, we've never had a problem with the infrastructure where we couldn't put out a fire, and there never will be, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the public? Yes?
A few meetings ago, I had inquired about trees on Greenwich Avenue, planting trees on Greenwich Avenue, and the tree commissioner replied that that's not a village street or village thoroughfare. Mm-hmm. And when I went home, the thought occurred to me, well, if that's not a village thoroughfare, then how come Main Street is, if both of them are Route 207?
Because it's not. Main Street is also a state road. It's maintained by the state. It's the same question. The trees that were planted along Main Street, whether you're talking on the county property or on village property. You see, we're looking for...
right next door. Or next door to that, or...
And we're looking for maintenance of the trees. It costs a lot of money to take down the trees, and there are some trees up there that we're going to end up having to probably take down because the state is absolutely, the DOT is non-responsive. Absolutely non-responsive, no matter what level we have tried to cajole, make them understand DPW, working through the back door with, the county representatives, because there's so much traffic on the road. They are non-responsive, and their answer now is, of course, that there's no funding for anything.
So those trees that the county planted over there are on the county side of the property, not in the DOT right?
As far as I understand, yes.
Because they're
And
inside
over
the
here,
side.
yeah, they're on the other side of the sidewalk. The tree that you're talking about up on Greenwich or Greenwich is right on the road. It's right on the road, and it's right in their area.
We might be talking about two different things. I'm talking about planting trees, and historically the village has planted trees on Main Street
Of course.
and maintained them, but not Greenwich Avenue. And your response to me last time I inquired about this was because it's a state highway, or state thoroughfare.
What we were talking about at that point, as far as I understood, was taking down the trees, number one, and number two, we plant between the sidewalk and the street. And particularly on Greenwich Avenue, there is sidewalk and then there is street. There is no median in most of that area. Therefore, these are called street trees. It's a street tree planting program. There is no median there for the street trees in many areas. So you have the problem of going onto private property, which we can't do.
So the sidewalks on Greenwich Avenue are not village sidewalks?
No sidewalks are, you want to answer that, Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Well, I know that Art is now the attorney.
He just took a huge cut in pay.
Sorry, sir.
No, the sidewalks typically are privately owned,
Yeah.
must be privately maintained.
But even though the village installs them.
Some, not all.
Not all. Some of them.
But on Greenwich Avenue in downtown?
Most of that was done on grant money.
Community development money, yeah.
Community development money that we were lucky enough to secure.
So there's no possibility of the village planting trees on the Greenwich Avenue corridor, say, between Railroad Avenue and New Street, thereabouts?
Between Railroad Avenue and, where would you put them?
Well, the same way you would on West Main Street, where there's no room, you cut a little hole in the sidewalk and you plant a tree.
That's what you're looking
Just like everywhere else in the village, you do the same exact thing.
No, it's not true. I mean, you have the curb, you have grassland, then you have sidewalk. In those areas, you have no grassland. It's the grassland where we plant the street.
But that hasn't prevented you from planting trees on West Main Street where there's no grassland.
No, you're right.
Well, I would just say,
That's not a state highway.
But it seems like a double standard. And then the next thing that occurs to me is like, you can't help but kind of think to yourself, well, is there a historical trend of race and class playing into the equation here? And I'm not well, I'm saying historically, we can't deny that there's been class and, class motivated,
there have been...
and race motivated.
Historically, certainly I agree with Chapman. Certainly, there was the lower class of the village. I know, because my grandfather and great-grandfather lived there and started the funeral home in Donovan's garage. So,
I mean, this is what I've heard from people in that neighborhood.
I can only answer you in saying the following, and then we'll close this for further discussion.
Why, if I reach my 5 minutes, are you timing?
I'm tired, Doug. I will show you the map, okay? I will show you where we can. When you go on to West Main, it's not the state road. It goes Greenwich, Main Street. That is it. All right?
Oh, I understand that, but in terms of breaking sidewalks open.
But that's critically different. That makes it critically different, okay?
well, let me just say, as somebody that spends every day defending municipalities over slips and falls on sidewalks, one of the worst things you can do is plant trees in the sidewalk, because the tree roots uproot the sidewalk and people slip and fall on them and they break their ankle.
But they love that. But
you have to acknowledge the perceived double standard between the West Main Street and Greenwich Avenue.
In every single place, in every single area of this community, where there is a median, a grassland between the sidewalk and the street, we have planted trees. Up Prospect, up Green Street, up this street, up Lincoln, up Wisner, everywhere. So to infer a class system would be unrealistic. Okay? It has to do with control over the streets. And median.
What about the medium or grass area between the sidewalk and the curb in front of the beer and soda distributor on Greenwich Avenue?
Do you see how wide that is and how compact that soil is? Done. They have to
The
be
thing I
able
don't
to live.
understand is you're able to do it everywhere else
They have to be
except
able to
there.
live.
It just seems strange that you're able to do it everywhere else except
I'll
there.
take a
You
walk
cut open
with
a
you.
sidewalk.
I'll take a walk with you, okay? We'll go for a walk together.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah, when?
Any day you want to meet me after 3:30.
If you
Okay.
come back too,
Pardon me?
if you bring them back also?
If he's lucky.
Yeah, that won't be like two people going in the park and one
Yeah,
coming out, is
right.
it? No?